Rumi has this beautiful perspective that everyone is seeking to transcend themselves or get beyond themselves. But that doesn't mean everything that we seek to do that with is equal. If you think about the activities that human beings do, it's often seeking a moment of freedom from the self. Right? So at night on the weekends, people go to the clubs, the bars, the discotheque, and the music's playing, or you go to a concert and you're dancing, and in the inebriation, in the moment, you forget yourself. You're kind of in it. Or even going to a sporting event, and the moment your team scores, and everyone, right? You forget yourself for a moment. Or in a beautiful movie or a beautiful story, you lose yourself and you're just caught in, right? Or in love or in physical intimacy, you forget yourself, right? Or in laughter or joy with friends, you forget yourself. We're all seeking to get rid of ourselves. But Rumi is saying the only way that this becomes abiding and permanent is through the spiritual path. And it's a type of compassion that he has, because he's saying that everyone is seeking intoxication. In fact, he actually says everyone is intoxicated with something. And he says most people are intoxicated with the 5 senses. If you think about it, the senses are intoxicating. And we think this is the real world and this is what matters and this, right? And then that call to prayer comes, it's like, oh yeah. Or then a loved one dies and it's like, oh yeah. This is perishing. All those things I thought were so important, gone in a moment. And so this world has this intoxicating quality, even though we're all believers and we know and we pray 5 times a day and right? But yet, someone cuts us off in traffic and we're like, ya himar, and this and this. And then you're like, whoa, this is just a test Allah's manifesting for me, and that's how I behave? تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. Allah said, blessed is the one who created death and life only to try you who would have most ihsan, who would have most excellence and beauty, who would create the most beauty. This whole thing is just a test for that. Who will do the most beauty? But yet we get caught up and so-and-so said that and they did this to me, and right? We forget this is a test. So really what Rumi is calling us is to upgrade our intoxicants. Don't be intoxicated with, and he even says, and this is a beautiful analogy, Rumi talks about Jesus riding his donkey as an archetype of the human condition, right? Because Jesus is Ruh Allah in the Quran, Spirit of God. But we all have Ruh Allah. We all have the Spirit of God, Spirit from God within us. But we also have the Himar. We have the donkey self, the ego self, the lower self. So each one of us is like Jesus riding a donkey. It's interesting to think of yourself like that. You have the Christ-like spirit, but you also have the donkey self, right? Like Mithat said with the belt, so you have that Jesus self above the belt, donkey self below the belt, right? So we have to cultivate. And he said everyone is drunk. He said Jesus is drunk on God. And his donkey is drunk on barley. The lowest of the grains. So are we going to be drunk on barley or are we going to be drunk on Allah? That's the same, right? In a certain sense, you can't escape your intoxication, but you can choose your intoxicant. And so he's saying, upgrade your intoxicants. Don't be intoxicated with the lower things, right? Children are intoxicated with dolls and figurines. And people that are spiritually immature are intoxicated with wealth and status. They're like children playing with these things. And the awliya are like the adults. They're like, that's okay, but they're higher things. And so that's what they're calling us to.